Hello. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new live stream. How's it going? I hope everything is great. Hola a todos. Bienvenidos a un nuevo en vivo. ¿Cómo están todos? Espero que estén muy bien. Well, today we're going to talk about 5 common phrases in Spanish. Very common phrases. This is episode 4. So That's good. That's good. I'm excited about it. Um, Hello, people on the live chat. Pogo Productions, hola. Hassan, hola. ¿Cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. Yeah, so before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and also click on the bell icon so you can get notified every time I live stream. I want to give a big shout out to our Cafecito members, Nick Ross, Terry Williams, Jacqueline Hodges, James Mullin, Robert Green, Ralph Marquez, Brianna L., Ruby Brockenberry, Christopher Michael, William Lopez, Gregory Ramirez, Michael Lee, and David Beaver. Thank you guys for the support. I really appreciate it. Muchas gracias por el cafecito. Thank you so much for the cup of coffee, el cafecito. And if you like what I do, you can also become a cafecito member. The only thing you gotta do is you need to click on the join button down below. So if you wanna know more about the membership, you can just click on there on that button, and then you will read more about the perks and everything about the membership. Thank you again, Cafecito members. Excellent. I'm live streaming, so if you want to interact with me, if you have any questions, you can use the live chat for that. The only thing you gotta do is you need to subscribe. You need to be a subscriber, so that's for free. Just click on the subscribe button if you want to use the live chat. Okay, let's get started. So 5 common phrases. Man, there's so many good phrases in Spanish that you can learn. If you want to master Spanish, you need to know these phrases because they're commonly used in Spanish. You probably will be able to use them every day if you have to, of course. And it's good to know the meaning, how to use them, what you need to do in order to use them, the situations and whatnot. So that's always something good to know. Okay, so just 5. This is actually episode 4. Sorry about that. Episode 4. If you missed the other episodes, the other streams about different phrases, 5 phrases that you must know, you can just browse my channel and you'll be able to find them. Okay, let's get started. The first phrase, la primera frase es enfermarse de. I'm just going to move this more to the left. Enfermarse de. What does this mean? Enfermar or enfermarse means to get sick. It depends of the situation because sometimes, it means to fall ill, to get sick, to make someone sick. Depends on the situation, of course. And even sometimes the verb enfermar means to annoy someone, to irritate someone if you're not being too literal about it. So that's what the verb enfermar means. But of course, if you want to add more to the sentence, then you can use de as well. Enfermarse de. This specific phrase is about, or it means, to come down with certain illness. It could be, the flu. If you get sick, technically, if you get sick, then you come down with something like the flu, some other something else. Like there's so many things that can make you sick. So this phrase is for that situation, and it's used a lot when you are, when you have to call your boss or something, or somebody like that, like your boss, or you're calling the office, your office, or where you work, and you're saying, hey, I came down with the flu. No, I came down with a cold or something like that. So this is a great phrase for that. So let's look at some examples using this phrase. Of course, you need to know the conjugation of the verb enfermarse, and remember that if we have this se, this pronoun se, that means that you can use the reflexive pronouns me, se, te, nos, os. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's something important to know. Now, let's look at the examples. The first example is me enfermé de la gripe. Me enfermé de la gripe y no puedo ir a trabajar. Me enfermé de la gripe y no puedo ir a trabajar. Wow. Okay. What are we talking about here? You have an idea, right? You have already an idea of what we're talking about here. So the translation of this sentence is, I came down with the flu and can't go to work. Great sentence to remember if you have to call where you work and say, hey, I cannot go today because I'm sick. Technically, that's what you're saying. I'm not feeling well. Okay, so let's break this down to see how the sentence works. Me, this is the pronoun, reflexive pronoun, me. We have the indication here that we can use reflexive pronouns. So that's why we're using me. Yo me enfermé. We don't need yo, we need the reflexive pronoun me. Me enfermé. Enfermé de. So this part here, enfermé de, is the phrase that we are learning today. So we have de and we have enfermar. Okay, enfermé. This is present tense, past tense. Even though you're saying that you're sick, maybe it happened yesterday. So it's a very common thing to say me enfermé de, and then you add what you came down with. In this situation, la gripe. La gripe means the flu, okay? So me enfermé de means I came down with. La gripe, the flu, okay? La gripe. Some people in Spanish, some Spanish speakers refer to gripe or the flu as gripa. So instead of the E, we have an A, la gripa. And it's a common thing that happens in Spanish, but the correct way to call the flu in Spanish is gripe, la gripe, okay? Y means and. Yo no puedo. We don't need yo. Yo no puedo. You're saying I can't, okay? And I can't or can't because we already have I here. And can't. No puedo. Ir a is a very common thing to say in Spanish. We actually talked about that not long ago. Ir means to go. That's the verb to go. But when you add ir a means to go to some place, right? So you're saying go to trabajar. Trabajar means it's a verb and it means to work. Okay, work. Trabajar, to work. Yo trabajo, tú trabajas, I work, you work, nosotros trabajamos, we work, okay? So that's a very good verb. Excellent. So, me enfermé de la gripe y no puedo ir a trabajar. I came down with the flu and can't go to work. That sucks, huh? That sucks. Excellent. So let's look at another example using enfermarse de. Okay, I don't know why. There you go. I found you. There you go. Okay. So yeah, the next example is, let's see what we have here. ¿De qué te enfermaste? ¿De qué te enfermaste? So this is another common question to ask in Spanish. Maybe your boss can ask you this when you're saying to your boss, hey, I came down with the flu and can't go to work, right? But you're saying you came down with the flu. So I think it doesn't apply here. Okay. So if you just say, I got sick, me enfermé, y no puedo ir a trabajar, for example, if you omit this part, you can say this, of course, me enfermé y no puedo ir a trabajar. Okay, so you're just saying I came down with something, or I don't feel well and I can't go to work. Okay, so maybe someone can ask you, ¿de qué te enfermaste? ¿De qué te enfermaste? And this means, what did you come down with? So this can be something you can ask to your friend, to your, I don't know, some relative or somebody like that, because you want to know what's going on, right? What did you come down with? So this is what this question means. Let's break it down. De, that's something important to remember because we have de at the beginning of the question and we have obviously de over here. So what's going on? So de que, we have technically the phrase here, enfermaste, okay? And also the reflexive pronoun. So this can be a little confusing, but let's make sure that we understand how it works. Okay, so we have, if you want to ask someone, what did you come down with? You start with de, okay? De que, okay? De que. And that means, que means what, of course, but we have it second here. We have de first. Just remember that. De que, there's no literal translation here. You just have to know the order, okay? So de first, then que, okay? And then we have the reflexive pronoun te, because you're asking someone. Someone is sick. You're not sick, so this doesn't apply, this reflexive pronoun. You are using te, okay? So you're asking someone, te, okay? So it's that person, you. Enfermaste, enfermaste. Tú te enfermaste. You came down with something, whatever the flu or anything, cold, whatever sickness we're talking about, it doesn't matter. But we have enfermaste. Tú te enfermaste. We take te and enfermaste, right? We put it there. Te enfermaste. And then we don't need tú, okay, you. We don't need that. We need the reflexive pronoun and enfermaste, okay? And we add que before and de at the beginning. De que te enfermaste. Let me tell you something really important. De que is a very common phrase that you can use in Spanish to ask for different things, okay? For example, it doesn't have a literal translation, but you can use it in different situations. ¿De qué quieres? Let's be more literal. ¿De qué sabor quieres el pastel? For example, this is something completely different. Completely different. We're not asking about illnesses nor anything like that. We are just talking about how to use de qué, okay? Okay, so ¿de qué quieres? ¿De qué sabor quieres el pastel? So what flavor would you like to the cake be? You know, like what flavor would you like the cake? What flavor do you want? Technically, that's what you're asking. This is completely different, but we are using de que. Okay, so if you want to know what, and then if you have to use de, you can use it to just ask what flavor would you like, okay? Or you can ask de qué color es la casa, for example. That's a completely different question. What color is the house? Okay, what color is the house, or the house is? Okay, so this is a very important thing to remember in Spanish, because de que is used a lot in Spanish. And we see that when you talk about coming down with something, you have de, and then if you want to ask more about it, like what's the sickness? What did you come down with? Then you can use that question. Okay, so just make sure that you know the order of the words. Let me just go back to, yeah, there you go. The order of the words, because it's very important to know that. So place de first at the beginning of the question. Remember that. And then que. Okay, so technically de que means what. What. Okay, and then te means you, right? Enfermaste, came down with. Or what did you in English come down with? Okay, so let's change this to, for example, you're asking this to someone else, to a group of people, all like 3 people got sick, right? So you want to ask, what's wrong? What did you come down with? De que se enfermaron. Enfermaron. Okay, ¿de qué se enfermaron? What did you, group of people, come down with? Okay, so just tell me more about what's wrong with you. Now let's change this to polite. You're asking to a person in a very polite way, formal way. ¿De qué se enfermó? Okay. What did you come down with? But this is very polite. So you ask this to someone. You're asking this to someone who you don't know well, or someone older than you. ¿De qué se enfermó? What did you come down with? Okay. And in Spain, if you're in Spain, it will be something like ¿de qué os enfermasteis? So let me double check that because I don't use this. I'm not Spaniard. So let me just double check that conjugation. Enfermasteis. Enfermar. Okay. Yep. And all of this it's correct. Enfermasteis. Sorry about that. Enfermasteis. And all of this, by the way, is imperative tense, past tense. So keep that in mind that if you want to ask this, obviously it's imperative tense, past tense. So you have to conjugate enfermar in imperative tense. ¿De qué os enfermasteis? And this is, you're saying this to a group of people, of course, not one, a group of people. And if you're in Spain, well, that's the way to ask this. This is a very interesting phrase because it's quite simple, but if you don't know if you don't know that you need to add this, it can be a little confusing or incomplete when you're asking this. For example, if you don't include this, ¿qué os enfermasteis? It's incomplete. It doesn't make much sense in Spanish. So just remember to add de. Okay, de. And remember the reflexive pronouns. Sometimes, it's hard to follow a rule when it comes to reflexive pronouns. That's why I'm teaching you the phrase enfermarse de, and I'm letting you know that you can use reflexive pronouns when using this phrase. It's very likely that you will need to use reflexive pronouns. Okay, just like when you say me lavo las manos, I wash my hands, right? In English is just simple. You just say I wash my hands, but in Spanish you use the reflexive pronoun, and even you can use the personal pronoun yo. Yo me lavo las manos. I wash my hands myself. Technically, that's what you're saying, but yeah, that's it can be tricky, but it's not difficult. It's not that difficult. You need to practice. Do you guys have any questions? Remember, enfermarse de means to come down with. Or if you got sick, if you're feeling unwell, you can use this phrase for those situations. Let's see. Estar. ¿Cómo te trata la vida? Welcome, estar. La vida me trata bien. Muchas gracias. ¿Y a ti cómo te trata? Ralph Márquez. Saludos desde Puerto Rico. That's awesome. Welcome, Ralph. Wow, Puerto Rico. That sounds great. It's nice that you are in Puerto Rico. Oh my goodness, the weather must be nice. Welcome, bienvenido. Bienvenido. Okay, any questions? Any questions? No me enfermé de la gripe. Perfect example. That's great. That's great. Perfect example. Thank you for sharing, Estar. Remember, you can practice. You can practice right now just by using the live chat. You can just share your examples. You can practice what we're learning, and that's always really good to do. It's really good. So you can master Spanish. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Okay. The next phrase. Let's see what we have here. The next phrase is al principio. Al principio. Al principio. Al, remember, al is actually two words, but I mean, it's two words, but it becomes one because when you have a él, you don't say that in Spanish. You don't have a él. You have al, okay? And that's what it means, a él. Al principio, principio means beginning, okay? Beginning, that's what it means. Principio, el principio, okay? It's a noun. It's a noun and it means beginning. It also means start. Sometimes it means origin. Okay, so that's a very good noun to learn for sure. Al principio, what does this mean? Let's see what it means. At first or at the beginning. At the beginning, something happened, right? At first, I did something or something happened as well. So this is another common thing to say in Spanish, al principio, and then you add more to that. Okay, so this is a phrase that needs more context, needs more information. So this is a great, great thing to use if you want to start saying something. You're just saying something happened at the beginning or at first. For example, let's look at a sentence here. Al principio lo quería mucho. Al principio lo quería mucho. Después ya no tanto. Al principio lo quería mucho. Después ya no tanto. This sounds complicated, but it's actually not that hard to understand what's going on here. The meaning of this sentence is, at first, I loved him a lot. Later on, not so much. So it happens. I mean, that happens for sure. You're saying maybe to your friend, hey, like I met this guy. At first I loved him a lot. We started dating and whatnot. But later, after a few years or whatever, things changed. Things changed. So that's what we're talking about here. Al principio, we have the phrase right at the beginning. Al principio, at first. Lo is a great great word. It's a pronoun and sometimes it means it. It means him. It means you, polite you, formal you. It's a very interesting pronoun. I believe I have a lesson about this word, so feel free to browse my channel. Let me double check if I have a lesson about it really quickly, because I don't want to say that I have a lesson and then it's not true. you know? Okay. Let's go with the channel. Yep, channel lo. Let's see. Yeah, I do have a lesson about it. It's quite old. We should talk about lo again. But anyways, lo in this situation means him, okay? Quería. Yo lo quería. I loved him. Okay? Amar, you could use the verb amar, which means to love as well. Yo lo amaba, okay? But also you can say quería, okay? So it's a common thing to use both verbs to say that you love someone, although amar is a more serious thing. Amar is very close to the verb to love in English, but querer can mean also, like appreciate, like you care about that person, you love that person, right? So it could be either one. Lo quería, lo amaba, okay? Either one. If you're more serious about it, you can say lo amaba, okay? So it's a more intense word, but let's just leave it at quería. At first, I loved him a lot. How do you say a lot in Spanish? Mucho, mucho, a lot. Quiero mucha comida. I want a lot of food. Quiero, quiero viajar mucho. I want to travel a lot. Okay, mucho means a lot. You can say mucha as well. If you're talking about, if you have a feminine noun like comida, then it's very likely that you will have to use mucha. Okay, mucha comida, a lot of food, mucha lluvia, a lot of rain, muchas personas, many people. Okay, so mucho is versatile. It can mean a lot, it can mean many. It depends on the situation. Or much. Te amo mucho. I love you a lot, or I love you so much. Okay, excellent. Mucho, a lot. In this situation, it means a lot. Después is a great word that means later. You can even use it by itself if someone asks you, for example, when are you gonna do this? ¿Cuándo vas a hacer esto? Después, later. Después, later. Okay. Después also means after. Okay. So sometimes it means later on as well. Después, later on, or later. Ya is another great word that means a lot of things too. It depends again on the situation, but it means already, now, right now. Ya. Hazlo ya. Do it now or right now. And it's a very good word. In this situation, it means we don't have it in English here. But when you say ya no tanto, the whole phrase, ya no tanto, it means not so much. It's very similar to saying not so much right now. Okay, so right now, that's the way it is. Ya no tanto. So right now, not so much. Okay. No tanto means not so much. For example, if someone is serving a lot of food on your plate and you don't want that much, you can say no tanto, por favor. Not so much, not too much food, please. That's what you're saying. So no tanto is a great phrase if you want to say not so much. Ya no tanto It means like at the moment, not so much. Okay, so it's a good thing to know. Excellent. Excellent. Now let's look at the next example. Let's see what we have here. Okay. What do we have here? What do we have here? Oh, éramos 20 al principio. Éramos, let me just do this. Too much red. Too much red. Okay. Éramos 20 al principio. Now, what are we talking about? Now, what are we talking about? Ya no queda, ahora ya no queda nadie. Okay. Éramos 20 al principio. Ahora ya no queda nadie. Éramos 20 al principio. Ahora ya no queda nadie. What does this mean? This means we were 20 at the beginning. Now there is no one left, right? Maybe you are at a party and there were so many people at first, at the beginning, but now that is late, everybody went home. There's no one left. Okay, so this is a good example, great example if you want to say that. If you want to use at the beginning in this situation. Éramos, nosotros éramos. Okay, that's what this means. Nosotros éramos. We don't need nosotros. You can say it, but you don't need it. Éramos 20. Éramos, by the way, means we were. Okay, we were 20, 20. Al principio. So we have the phrase we're learning right here. Éramos 20 al principio. We were 20 at the beginning. Or at the beginning, we were 20. Ahora, now. Ahora means now. Ya. Again, ya. Yeah. You're saying like at the moment, right now. Ya no means no queda. Let's just include queda. No queda means there is no something. It could be food, it could be people, it could be, I don't know, cars, it could be houses, it could be, I don't know, anything, right? You just add a noun. No queda comida. There's no food. No quedan dulces. There isn't any candy, or there's nothing left. Dulces means candy, by the way, and I say quedan because this can change to plural. Quedan dulces. No quedan dulces. There's no more candy. Or if you remove no and you use queda only, you're saying there is something. Queda comida. There's food. But this is like you're saying there's food. If you didn't get early to eat, there's leftovers, there's food you can, eat. So remember that. When you say no queda, there is no. Okay, there is no something or someone. In this situation, nadie. Nadie means no one. So there is no one, or essentially you're saying there's nobody there. Okay, nadie, nobody, no one. In English, it's common to say there is no one left. No queda nadie means there is no one left. When you add yeah, you're saying at the moment, right now, there's no one. There's no one. Excellent. Excellent. So we use the phrase al principio, which means at first or at the beginning. We used it here, right? At first. And we used it in the middle. So it can be flexible. You can have it at the beginning of sentences or in the middle. Okay? And here it means at the beginning. Excellent. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions? Let's see. Hola a todos, la pantalla es oscuro, no puedo verte. Is there a word for shallow in Spanish? Welcome, Mark. You cannot see the screen? I see it fine. I'm just checking the stream and it looks normal. Maybe your monitor needs some adjusting. I don't know. Let me see. Now the word shallow, it depends. It depends what you want to say, because shallow, it can be something like, I don't know, the river is shallow or someone is shallow. So it depends. It depends what you want to say. There's different ways to say shallow in Spanish for sure. So if you want to share an example, I can help you out for sure. Jorge, Mexico. I see. Thanks for sharing, Jorge. Estar. How do you say driver side? Driver side turn signal? What? Okay, there's a lot of how do you say? How do you say? I see. I see. Maybe at the end of the stream we can answer those questions. Estar al principio la amaba, pero no tanto. So at the beginning or at first you loved her, but not so much. Just a little bit. You loved her a little bit. That's great. That's a great example. Lindsay, welcome. Éramos 20. Es la misma que teníamos 20. It's not the same, because éramos 20 means we were 20. Teníamos 20, that means we had 20. So it's not the same. No es lo mismo. Great question, Lindsay. Welcome. Wes Turner. I keep thinking about Star Wars, the movie with the character Principio. When you say Principio. Yeah. Another way to say that al principio, at the beginning pretty much, is en el principio. En el principio. Okay. That's a common thing to say too in Spanish. En el principio, and that means at the beginning. But it's used differently. This is used if this is pretty much like you're saying in the beginning. I just remembered a meme. Sorry. At the begin. No, in the beginning. Beginning. But if you say al principio, is at the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right? It's like a Star Wars. I don't know. I haven't watched Star Wars in Spanish. I remember the English, version. But that's good. Star Wars is good. Thank you for sharing, Wes. And welcome. Al principio el trabajo era maravilloso, pero luego lo dejé por la baja moral. Interesting. Thank you for sharing, estar. Thank you so much. That's a good example using al principio. Excellent. So let's look at the next phrase. Phrase number 3. Remember, we're learning 5 today. So this is phrase number 3. Let me just have a little bit of water. Okay. Let's see. The next phrase is llamar a. Oops. Llamar a. Llamar a. So if you want to use this phrase, you need to know the conjugation of the verb llamar, which means to call. Okay? To call, or just in general, you're calling someone. You can say their name out loud. Maybe you're in the same room and you're just saying, hey, Miguel. So you're calling Miguel. Okay, so it could be like that, llamar. Or it also means, when you call someone, over the phone, you're calling someone up. So just keep that in mind. It has 2 uses. Llamar a, we're adding a because we're adding more to the phrase. This is incomplete. You need to add more information to this. Llamar a means to call. Okay? You're just calling someone. Now, let's look at some examples. It's quite easy. This phrase is quite easy. And remember that the verb llamar is a regular. It's very regular. It's a regular verb, so it's easy to conjugate. You only need to follow the rules when conjugating this verb. Okay, so let's look at the first example. Llamé a mis padres. Llamé a mis padres y los invité a cenar. Llamé a mis padres y los invité a cenar. So, you call who? Mis padres. Mis padres. Let's look at the translation. What does this mean? This means I called my parents and invited them over for supper. Oh my, I don't have enough space here. There you go. I called my parents and invited them over for supper, just to eat dinner at night. Okay, so let's break this down and let's see how this works. Llamé, yo llamé. We don't need yo. You can say it, but we don't need it. Yo llamé means I called. Okay? We added a because we're adding more information to the sentence. Llamé a. I called mis padres. Mis means my, okay? And we're adding the S to me because me also means my. We're adding the letter S because this noun is plural. Padres. Padres, it looks like you're saying fathers in Spanish because padre means father, but padres means parents. Did you know that? That's very interesting. Y and los, yo los, invité, los means the, but also is a pronoun and it means them. Okay, them. Now, we have them here. los, them, invité a. Invité a is also a very common thing to say in Spanish. Invité comes from the verb invitar. Remember, the V sound in Spanish is very similar to B as in bell in English. Invité, invité. And obviously comes from invitar, which means to invite. Okay. But when you add invité a, you can add another noun. And in this situation, you're saying invité a, los invité a, invited, I invited them over. In this situation, over, because to invite over in English means to just ask someone to come where you are, right? So that's why we need to include over. But in Spanish, you can just say invitar. So it doesn't matter, there isn't like something else that you need to add that means over. Okay. You can say a la casa. I invited them to come to, to the house. That's fine in Spanish. But you really don't have to if you're already there and you have the supper already there. But if you want, you can add more information, of course. Los invité a. I invited them over for, cenar. Cenar is it's a verb that means, in this situation, it is a verb, and it means supper, or it's very curious because supper in Spanish is cena, la cena, okay? We don't have it here. You're saying you're inviting them over to eat supper, okay? Cenar means when you eat supper. It's a verb. Yo ceno, I eat dinner, supper. Tú cenas, you are eating supper. Okay, so cenar means to eat supper. It's a verb that means to have dinner, to eat supper, to have supper, to dine. Okay, so it's very, very good to learn this because you can use it very often. Now, if you want to be more literal, you want to say supper and not cenar, you can say los invité a la cena. Okay? I invited them over for supper. So that's another way to say pretty much the same thing, but it's a very common thing to just say a cenar or just cenar, right? And that's fine. That means, for supper, to eat supper. Excellent. Now, let me just tell you something really quickly, a trick over here, because if you want to say invitar a, if you want to use that phrase invitar a to invite someone over or just to invite someone in general, you can just change this to something else. Los invité a la fiesta. I invited them over, or I invited them to the party. So invitar a is a very common thing to use when you want to invite someone to do something or for something. In this situation, for supper or whatever. But in this situation, it means los invité a la fiesta. I invited them to the party. Okay. So it's very flexible. You can just change this to anything else. It could be a noun. It could be a verb. Los invité a correr. I invited them to, I don't know, to go out and run somewhere. People have that, people who like to run a lot, they invite their buddies to go with them. I invited them to run. somewhere, right? Exercise a little. So this is a very common thing to say in Spanish. So it's good. It's good. In this situation, we're talking about, I called my parents and invited them over for supper. We have llamar a here, right here. And obviously it's conjugated in paired tense. Excellent. Let's look at another example using llamar a. Okay, what do we have here? Llama a tu hermano. Llama a tu hermano. Ya vamos a comer. Llama a tu hermano. Ya vamos a comer. So this means call your brother. We're going to eat, or food is ready. That's pretty much what you're saying. If your brother is in the house, that's fine. You can use llamar a. If your brother is somewhere else and you have to grab your phone and call him, that's also fine. You can use llamar a. Okay? So let's break this down really quickly. Llama a. Tú llama a. We don't need tú. That means call. Okay? Llama a. Tú without the accent mark, because if it has the accent mark, it means you, but without it, it means you're. Okay? Hermano. Hermano means brother. Yeah, again, yeah. We talked about yeah a few minutes ago. Yeah means a bunch of things. And you're just saying right now, something's going to happen in this situation. You want to eat because the food is ready. So ya vamos. Ya vamos a. Vamos is another thing that, another word that is very good to use. Ya vamos. Vamos comes from the verb ir, okay? And it's used a lot. Even by itself, you can say vamos, vamos, vamos. And that means let's go. That means you can literally be saying let's go, vamos, vamos, somewhere, right? Or you can just be, it can be used as an expression to say, hey, let's go, vamos, vamos. You can do it, okay? Lo puedes hacer, vamos. So that's like cheering. You're saying, let's go, you can do it. You got this, okay? So ya vamos a, it means the whole thing that we are going to, okay? We are going to, remember, ir a is used a lot in Spanish and it means to go to. We have ir right here, vamos a, and you're saying we're going to, okay? In this situation, you add a verb, and that means comer means eat. You can change that to something else. Vamos a caminar. Let's go walk. Or, it depends on the situation. You can also be saying we're going to walk as well. Okay, so context. It matters a lot. When you say ya vamos a comer, you can even memorize that. And you're saying let's eat or we're going to eat. Okay, let's say it right now, or we're going to eat right now because the food is ready. Llama a tu hermano. Call your brother. Okay, or just say, shout the name, Miguel, la comida está lista. Miguel, the food is ready. Okay, ya vamos a comer. We're going to eat. Excellent. You see, Spanish is not that difficult. It's not that hard. You just have to break everything down and understand how it works. Do you have any questions, guys? Remember, llamar a means to call. Okay. Hola, Pogo Productions. I saw you. I saw you before. You were the first message, when I started streaming. Hay un llamado pollo tropical en Sur Florida. Interesting. Interesting estar. Estar. Mark, how do you say I called Juan? Do you keep the a in this sentence? Llamé a Juan. Yep. Just like that. Just remember the accent mark on the letter E. Llamé. Yo llamé. Because otherwise it sounds like llame. Llame. So don't forget that. Just to have good grammar, A lot of Spanish speakers forget to use the accent mark, la tilde. But it's good. It's good to know, to use it when you have to. I use it a lot. But yeah, yo llamé a Juan. I called Juan. Or llamé a Juan. Perfect. Great example. Thank you, Mark Todd. De nada, Mark. De nada. Excellent. Now, phrase number 4. Phrase number 4. Frase número 4. What do we have? Ser de or pertenecer a. This is quite similar, both. Ser de is one. Okay. It's a short version. Ser de. Ser de, of course, you need to know the conjugation of the verb ser. It's very regular. So you have to memorize it pretty much. And then we also have pertenecer a. This is the long version of what we're talking about right now. Pertenecer is a verb, and it means to belong. To belong, okay? I'm just going to check if it's a regular verb. It has some irregularities, so it's technically a regular verb, pertenecer. So keep that in mind. Both ser and pertenecer are irregular verbs. And if you want to use this phrase, these phrases, you need to know the conjugation of both verbs. Let's see. What does this mean? This means to belong to. So this is something important to learn in Spanish, because if you're talking about a house that belongs to someone and you want to say that, you need to use these phrases, either one. Or when talking about properties, when talking about things as well, cars, books, anything. Or if you want to say, hey, this is mine, you can use these phrases for that. So it's a very important phrase to understand. Okay, so let's look at the first example using ser de or pertenecer a. So something important is remember this and this. So that way you can use the whole phrase. Pertenecer a or ser de. Okay, very important. Let's look at some examples. Okay. El libro es de María. El libro es de María. This means the book is Maria's, or the book belongs to Maria. Now, ser de is very similar to adding the apostrophe in the letter S. You know, when you are saying a name, Maria's, or when you're saying his, hers, okay? So it's very important to remember that. Theirs as well. So ser de is very similar to that. Pertenecer a is more similar to saying to belong to, okay? But you can use either one, and you're just saying that the item belongs to someone. Now let's break this down. El libro means the book. El libro, the book. Es de, we have de in the verb ser conjugated for Maria, right? So you're saying es. Ella es. We don't need ella. It's a completely different meaning when you say ella es. Ella es means she is, right? But just keep that in mind if you're talking about her or him, then you will need es. Es de. And that means this part here, or belongs to. Okay? And then you add, obviously, also is, including is, because es means is. Maria, we have the name. So Maria, and obviously el libro means the book, and then we have Maria. Okay? So that's what this means. El libro es de María. Now, if you want to use pertenecer a, you can say el libro pertenece a. Pertenece a María. Now, I want to make a correction because I just realized when I said es de, es is referring to the book. El libro es, not Maria. So I want to correct that. I want to clarify that. I had a brain fart. That happens when you are bilingual. You're switching constantly between the two languages. So I apologize for that. So you are talking about the book. So this is about this. El libro es. It's like you're saying el libro es amarillo. The book is yellow. El libro es bonito. The book is beautiful. El libro es grande. The book is big. I don't know, too many pages, right? So I just wanted to clarify that. Excellent. Now, yeah, as I said before, you can change this as well. Pertenece. El libro pertenece a María. The book belongs to María. Obviously, same thing. We're talking about the book. El libro pertenece. Okay? You can change this to something else. El libro pertenece a la biblioteca. Oops, let me just fix that really quickly. And you're just saying the book belongs at the library, pretty much. That's what you're saying. Okay? El libro pertenece a la biblioteca. The book belongs at the library. Okay? Or it's from the library. If you have a name, of course, you can change this to anything else. Could be, them. I don't know. It belongs to him, belongs to him, belongs to anybody. Pertenece a ella. El libro le pertenece. Oh, this changes a bit. Le pertenece a ella. Okay. I just realized that it needs the reflexive pronoun. It needs this pronoun here, le, when using pertenece, pertenecer. Hang on a second. We have el libro pertenece a María. Le pertenece. So technically, I don't want to add se because it's not that reflexive, but you can use reflexive pronouns with this. El libro le pertenece a María. Man. Le pertenece a María. So when using pertenecer a, remember you need reflexive pronouns. I just realized that's crazy. That's crazy. Now, if you want to say them, le pertenece a ellos. El libro le pertenece a ellos. The book belongs to them. Is theirs. That's what you're saying. Man, it's crazy. Even my native language is Spanish. It's crazy. Oh my. Sorry about that. Let's have more examples just to make everything clear. Okay. Now the next example. Let's just leave it like it was. Is de María. Yeah. This is like the simplest form, ser de. If you want to use that, it's way easier than pertenecer a. For some reason. for a lot of reasons, I think it's because of the reflexive pronouns. Okay, let's move on. They can be confusing, for sure. Esta casa me pertenece a mí. Now we have the reflexive pronoun that I forgot over here. Okay, my bad. Esta casa me pertenece a mí. Esta casa me pertenece a mí. Now, this means this house belongs to me. Okay? To me, belongs to me. Now, let's break this down and let's see how this sentence works. Esta casa, this house. Esta without the accent mark means this. With the accent mark means ella está, for example, she is, but without the accent mark is this. Esta casa, this house. Why esta and not este? Because you can use both, esta, este, and both mean this. That's because casa is a feminine noun, and that's why you need esta. Just like you need la casa, the definite article la, it's the same for this one. Esta casa, okay? Este carro, this car. Este perro, this dog. Esta manzana, this apple, okay? So that's what you do. This house, esta casa, me, reflexive pronoun. And also we have a me, which means the same thing. Me. Okay? You can just not use this. Me pertenece. Esta casa me pertenece. And that means this house belongs to me. But it's very common in Spanish that we use me and we use also a mí. Okay, so in the middle, you add a verb. In this situation, obviously, this, right? Pertenecer a. We have it here, right? But I'm just going to show you another example because a mí is very commonly used and me as well. In the same sentences, you can have both. And it's pretty much, the meaning is me. That's the meaning. Pertenece a, belongs to. Okay? Belongs to. So here is the formula. Here's the secret when you want to change this to something else. Let me show you. Let's say we're not talking about, well, let's talk about the house. Esta casa me, then you need to add a verb, okay? And then a mí, me, a mí. Now, you can say something else like me gusta, a verb, gusta. Esta casa me gusta a mí. And that means this house, I like this house. That's what it means. I like this house. I know that we don't have me in English here, but me, a mí is commonly said in Spanish. Remember, we cannot translate word by word from English into Spanish. So you need to know how these little phrases work in order to use them. Okay? Esta casa me gusta a mí. Esta casa me, let's change it to a different verb. Gustar, to like. Esta casa me asusta. For example, if it's haunted, maybe the house is haunted. Esta casa me asusta a mí. This means this house terrifies me. Okay? I think that's how you spell terrifies. Terrifies me. So, or I don't know, it's just not a good house. Oh, okay. Terrifies me. So that's what this means. A mí, we used a mí again. Me and a mí. So it's a very common thing to use in Spanish, to say in Spanish. You just have to add a verb in the middle. And obviously it's conjugated. So you need to know that. A mí, me, you can even say, it's so crazy. You can even say, a mí me asusta. You can even change a mí me asusta esta casa. It's the same meaning. A mí me asusta esta casa. So just remember that sometimes when using me in Spanish, you can also use a mí, and that means the whole thing means me. I know I'm saying me too many times. So this means this. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Now, we are talking about pertenecer a, right? So just remember that when using this verb, pertenecer a, this phrase, you need to use reflexive pronouns. Okay? Me pertenece a mí, or le pertenece a ella. For example, esta casa le pertenece a ella. This house belongs to her. Okay, so that's what you're saying. Esta casa nos pertenece a nosotros. So you're using the reflexive pronoun nos and then also nosotros. Okay, and this means this house belongs to us. Okay. So just remember that. Esta casa le pertenece a ella, no, a él. A él. A él. This house belongs to him. Okay, so once again, remember, Pertenecer a can be used with reflexive pronouns me, te, le, nos, os, okay? Les as well. So just remember that. Man, it can be tricky for sure. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Let's see. Mark is from Newcastle, UK. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. Man, that's far away. I am in Canada. So yeah, the UK is quite far away. Estar, no me gusta este departamento. No lo arreglan nada. Interesting. Thank you for sharing estar. Good example. Lastly, we have the last phrase. The last phrase. Man. Phrase number 5. Frase número 5. Número 5. My God, my glove. It's crazy. I just get cold hands. My hands get cold all the time. It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay. And sometimes they get sweaty. They're cold and they get sweaty. Like, what? That happens when I play video games. But anyways, TMI, TMI. Let's see what we have here. The last phrase. Después de. Oh, we talked about this a few minutes ago. Después de. Después de. What does this mean? After. Just after. And as I said before, después can be used by itself and it means later and after. So if someone is asking you when are you gonna do this or that, you can say después. Después, later, right? Después. Or when you want to say after something else happened. Okay, so después de is great for that if you want to add more to your sentence. And let's look at some examples using this phrase. Después de comer, quiero ir a caminar un rato. Después de comer, quiero ir a caminar un rato. What does this mean? It means after eating, I want to go for a walk for a while or just for a bit, just a short walk, just a little bit, you don't want to walk a lot, just a little bit. Now, let's break this down. Let's see what this means. Después de, we have the phrase we're learning right here at the beginning, and that means after. Usually you add a verb right after the phrase después de, and when you do that, you add a verb in the infinitive form. So you don't conjugate it. You leave the ER, AR, IR ending. So, for example, comer, hablar, caminar, I don't know, gritar, desayunar. Okay? So many options. Just add a verb right there. Después de comer, after eating. In English, you have the gerund, eating. You don't put after eat. In Spanish, you do have it like that. In English, it's quite different. quiero ir, yo quiero ir. We don't need yo. We can just add quiero, yo quiero. I want. Sorry about that. I want. Ir a, remember, ir a means, go to, usually. In this situation, quiero ir a means I want to go. Caminar, we added a verb right there as well, not conjugated, just in the infinitive form. And caminar in this situation is similar to saying to go for a walk. I just want to go walk somewhere, usually outside. You walk outside. Un rato. Un rato is a common phrase that means for a bit or for a while. So that's the meaning right there. Después de comer, after eating, quiero ir a caminar un rato. I want to go for a walk for a while or just for a little bit, just a little bit. A short walk. Why not? Why not? Excellent. Let's look at the next example using después de. Voy a descansar después de trabajar. Voy a descansar después de trabajar. This means I'm going to rest after work. Okay. Voy a is a very, very common little phrase that means I'm going to. Voy a. Remember, the V sound is similar to B as in bell in English. So it's like you're saying boy. Like just saying you're talking about a boy, but no, you're talking about going somewhere. Voy a, or you're going to do something, right? I'm going to. This comes from the verb ir, which we have also here, and then a right after when you want to add more to the sentence. Voy a, I'm going to descansar. Just add a verb right there. You don't have to conjugate it. It's just in the infinitive form. So descansar means to rest. Okay? Después de, we have the phrase we're learning right here. Después de, which means after. Because if you don't have de here, if you have después trabajar, that means that you are going to rest and then you're going to work right after. So it's important to not forget these little words. Okay, very important. Después de, after, trabajar. Trabajar, just add the verb without conjugating, just like we did it here, right here. And después de, trabajar means work. After working, after you're done working. Voy a descansar después de trabajar. I'm going to rest after work. Okay, so something very important to notice here is this is like a very good phrase that you can change to different things. You just have to add a verb right here and another verb right here. And you don't have to conjugate the verbs. You just need to insert them there. So for example, voy a comer después de dormir. For example, I'm going to eat after sleeping. That's what you're saying here. Voy a comer después de dormir. I'm going to eat after sleeping. You can change this to something else. Voy a, let me see. Voy a cocinar después de comprar Let's add something else. Yeah, no. Let's just use comprar, and I'm going to add more. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. And let me fix that. Okay. So what you're saying here is voy a cocinar después de comprar la despensa. Okay. And we have a verb here, right? And another one right over here. And you can add more information to the sentence. So voy a cocinar means I'm going to cook. Cocinar means to cook. Después de comprar, after buying la despensa. La despensa means groceries. Okay, after buying groceries. And that's something common that you do usually that, because if you don't have food at home, then you need to buy groceries. Comprar la despensa, to buy groceries. Okay, so you can even say voy a comprar la despensa. I'm going to do groceries. You know, this can also be after doing groceries. Okay, so that's what it means. La despensa, groceries. Despensa means a lot of things. It depends. It depends on the situation. But la despensa can mean groceries. It can mean pantry. So technically that. Technically that. That's what it means. Pantry, when usually it's just the food that you buy, and sometimes you store that in the pantry. So that's la despensa, including the food and everything. Obviously, the food is the important part. Or when you do groceries, when you need to do groceries. Okay. Excellent. So this is a very flexible thing that you can use in Spanish for sure. And remember, después de is a very good phrase that means after. Okay. You're doing something, and then right after, you're going to do something else, or just after. Okay. Excellent. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions? Okay. Let's see. Mark, ¿hay una diferencia entre caminar, andar, and dar un paseo? That's a great question. Caminar. Let me just duplicate this. And let me tell you the differences. Okay. So let's delete this and this and this and this. Let's just have this here. Caminar means to walk. In general, caminar can be used in different ways, but essentially you're just talking about the action of walking. So you can walk anywhere. You can walk to work, you can walk outside, you can, it's just a general term to refer to walking. Okay, so that is basic general term, walking, to walk. Now, the other one is andar. Andar has other meanings. It means to walk in some situations, but it's a bit trickier to use because it also means to ride, if you take, for example, the train or a train to go somewhere, or a bus. So you can use andar for that. It can also mean to go when something is going well or not, or to hang out with. So it's a more complex verb. It's not as simple as caminar. I'm just trying to see, for example, if you add ando a pie, I'm walking somewhere, you know? That's what you're saying, that you're walking somewhere. But you can also say, for example, ando en carro. And that means, it doesn't mean to walk. It means you're riding a car, you're in a car going somewhere. Okay. For example, someone can ask you, are you walking or are you driving? And you can say, ando en carro. I'm driving a car. I'm riding a car. So it's a general term that you are going somewhere in a car. Okay. Ando a pie means you are just walking somewhere. So it's a more complicated verb for sure. And the other thing you were saying, dar un paseo. Dar un paseo, this is more recreational. You are not going, you're not using this when talking about work, for example. And this is more similar to saying to go for a walk. When you just want to walk outside, you're not going anywhere. It's something recreational. So this means to go for a walk. You can say, voy a dar un paseo al zoológico. I'm going for a walk to the zoo, for example. For example. Or just vamos a dar un paseo después de cenar. Let's take a walk or just go for a walk after dinner, right? To go for a stroll as well. ¿Quieres dar un paseo por el muelle? Do you want to go for a stroll along the bridge or whatever? Could be a park too. Al parque, for example. So this is a more recreational thing, whereas caminar is just walk. And you can use it for every situation when you want to say walk. You can even say, if you want to go for a walk, you can say, quiero ir a caminar. And this means I want to go for a walk. That's Spanish. I want to go for, oh my goodness, I want to go for a walk. Or I want to walk, right? So, or you can just even say, you can say, quiero caminar. I want to walk, So if you want to keep it simple, right? So it's up to you what you want to do, what you want to say. That's a great question, though. Great question. Yo también juego videojuegos y además tengo 33 años. Yeah, that's a great example. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, I agree. Cualquiera puede jugar videojuegos. Anybody can play video games. It doesn't matter if you're young or a little older. That's fine. I play video games. I love playing video games for sure. Elden Ring, man, I love that game. Anyways, thanks for sharing, Estar. Nate Marks, voy a ver este video. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. You can watch, if you missed the stream, if you just tuned in, you can watch the stream later on. Yeah. So as soon as I'm done with the stream, you can go on my channel and then you should be able to see the latest stream. There is a section on the channel that is called Live. So you have videos, shorts, live, and that's where the live streams are. All of them. All of them. If you want to watch previous ones too. Thank you for that, Nate. Mark, una palabra nueva para mí, la despensa. Qué padre. Qué padre. La despensa is a very good word for sure. Also, there is another term called, it's similar to saying, doing groceries, hacer el mandado. But this is more like, this is similar, or this is used in Latin America more. Hacer el mandado. I'm not sure if Spain uses this phrase, but I know for sure that Latin America uses this a lot. And that means, it doesn't mean I want to go for a walk. It means to do groceries. Yeah. Hacer la despensa, hacer el mandado, same thing. To do groceries. Deberías hacer un video en cómo se pronuncia la capital de cada país en América Latina. Nadie sabe pronunciar la capital de Paraguay. Good idea. Good idea. But yeah, that's a good idea for sure. Thank you for sharing, Nate. Deb, ningunas preguntas. Voy a pintar después de mirar tu video. Thank you for sharing, Deb. Ningunas preguntas. Okay, yeah, great. Voy a pintar. That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish I could do that, but I used to draw a lot when I was younger, but not anymore. Dibujaba mucho cuando era más joven, pero ahora ya no. Thank you so much for sharing, Deb. Lindsay, al principio necesitaba mucha práctica en español. En español. Hoy en día todavía necesito más práctica. Yeah, it happens. That happens with every language you're learning. It happens to me still, like when I learn, because my English is fine, but it can be better. When you're learning your second language, it can always be better, You can get better at speaking the language, and there's so many words and different ways to use those words. So I don't think you ever stop learning a language, even your native language. I think you're always need to learn something new about any language that you like. It's very important, and it's fun. Don't see it as, I don't know, like something that you have to do, because if you see it that way, it's going to be harder to learn that language. Just see it as something fun, like, oh my God, just usually people who learn a second language or a third or a fourth language, it's because they really enjoy learning the language. So that's something important to remember for sure. And practice is always important for sure, Lindsay. You can do it, Lindsay. You can do it. Tú puedes hacerlo. Mark, haces este podcast cada semana. I mean, it's not a podcast. It's a live stream. But it will be, I used to have a podcast on the channel, but I stopped because it was due to work and other things that I need to do. And time is always, it's hard for me because I do a lot of things, other things besides this. And I always try to find a time for this every week. That's why I always say that I stream every week. I cannot tell you exactly when, day and time, because it depends on my schedule. So sometimes I can do it over the weekend. Sometimes I can do it on Tuesday, sometimes on Friday. So I cannot say, on this day at this time. But the best thing to do to not miss out my streams is to click on that bell icon next to the subscribe button. And then you will see like a little menu there, some options. So turn everything on. In that way, you will get notified like half an hour before I stream, and then right when I start streaming. So I recommend you do that if you want to watch my streams. And hopefully in the future, I can tell you exactly the time and day when I can do it. But for now, the best thing to do is to just activate that notification thing on YouTube. Thank you, though. Thank you for asking all of this, and thank you for interacting with me. That's awesome. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for sharing examples. Thank you so much. And even if you say hola, that's awesome. That's great. Odio el arte cuando era más joven. You didn't like art when you were younger? Really? En directo, yeah. Just just click on that bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Yeah, that's the best thing to do. Okay. That said, I gotta go. Wow, almost 2 hours. Thank you so much for being here, for staying until the end. If you like this stream, please give it a like. That helps me a lot. Also, remember, I live stream every week. So if you don't want to miss out, just click on that bell icon. Also, I have a Spanish community on Discord. That's something that you can join. You can join for free, actually. So if you want to do that, please click, or you can find the Discord link, or the link to the Discord server in the video description or the stream description down below. The only thing, though, is you need to read the rules before joining that server, that community, and it's important. So read the rules. It's free, but you need to read the rules and obviously follow those rules. And I'm part of that community as well. So I get online sometimes. You can also interact with other people. You can ask questions about Spanish and whatnot. So yeah, just if you want, feel free to join. And also, if you want to support this channel even more, you can check out the membership. For that, you need to click on the join button down below to read the perks, to read the fee. Essentially, it's less than $3 a month. So you're buying me a cup of coffee. So yeah, if you can, just check that out. No pressure, though. And yeah, it's Antonio. Gracias. Nate liked right now. Que tengas, it's Antonio. Que tengas una bonita noche. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Adiós. Hasta luego.